1. The hidden reality. Most men live in a state of comfortable blindness, believing that the warmth they feel today is a guarantee of a woman's loyalty tomorrow. You look at her smiles, you listen to her I love yous, and you assume that because things are good right now, the foundation is solid. But here is the hard truth you need to accept: words are cheap, and affection is easy to give when life is going well. It is easy to be a good partner when the bills are paid, the sun is shining, and you are providing a lifestyle or an emotional safety net that she enjoys. That isn't necessarily love, it's a reaction to comfort. Real loyalty isn't something that is shouted from the rooftops or posted on social media for the world to see. It is a quiet, internal code that exists in the spaces where no one is looking. If you truly want to understand the woman standing next to you, you have to stop listening to what she says and start observing the reality of who she is when the incentives are gone. We often make the mistake of measuring a person's character by how they treat us during the honeymoon phases of life. During these times, most people are on their best behavior because it serves them to be. But character isn't formed in comfort, it is only exposed there. Beneath the surface of every relationship, there is a hidden reality that most men are too afraid to look at. You have to ask yourself, is she with you because of who you are or because of the role you play in her life? Is her devotion tied to your soul, or is it tied to the security, attention, and status you provide? If her loyalty is merely a convenient arrangement, it will brittle and break the moment a better option appears or the moment your utility runs out. To find the answer, you have to look past the surface level gestures and the sweet words that fill the air during dinner dates. True character is revealed in the silence, in those private, hidden moments where there is no audience to perform for and no immediate reward for doing the right thing. There are two specific, quiet tests that act as a mirror to a woman's soul, stripping away the mask of the perfect partner to reveal the person underneath. These aren't tests you perform on her like a game. They are observations of her natural behavior when she thinks she is unobserved or when she realizes she no longer needs you to survive. These two pillars of truth will tell you more about your future with her than 10 years of circular conversations ever could. If you don't learn how to see this hidden reality, you are building your life on sand. You must develop the wisdom to see the difference between a woman who is anchored in her own values and a woman who is simply playing a part until the script no longer suits her. Once you see the truth in these two areas, you will never look at her or your relationship the same way again. 2. The freedom test. The ultimate measure of a woman's character isn't found in how she behaves while you're holding her hand. It's found in what she does the moment she steps out of your sight. Most men mistake compliance for loyalty. They think that because she answers their texts quickly or acts like a devoted partner when they are together, the bond is secure. But that isn't loyalty. That is just behavior under observation. True loyalty is what happens in the dark, in the quiet moments of total freedom when there is zero chance of getting caught and no one is there to hold her accountable. This is the freedom test. It is the only way to distinguish between a woman who truly values you and a woman who is simply managing her reputation. You have to understand that for some, loyalty is nothing more than a costume. It's an outfit they put on when they go out in public to look the part of the perfect girlfriend or the devoted wife. They style it perfectly for your friends, your family, and your social media feed because they want the status that comes with being seen as a faithful partner. But the real question you must answer is this: does she take that loyalty off the second the door closes and she's alone with her phone? When a woman is unobserved, the internal walls of her character are the only thing keeping your relationship safe. You shouldn't have to be a detective or a warden to feel secure. If you feel the need to monitor her, you've already lost. A woman of high integrity treats your bond as something sacred, a holy ground that she guards with her life, regardless of whether you are there to witness it. She doesn't see your commitment as a set of rules she has to follow to avoid an argument. She sees it as a reflection of her own soul. However, a woman driven by convenience sees freedom as an opportunity to blur the lines. She might not commit a blatant betrayal, but she entertains micro cheating, those small, hidden doors she leaves open for male attention, the innocent DMs she hides, or the way she presents herself as available the moment you aren't in the room. She confuses being unmonitored with having permission to test the boundaries of your respect. You must realize that freedom doesn't actually create betrayal. It simply acts as a magnifying glass for what was already hiding in her heart. If a woman is going to be unfaithful, she was already unfaithful in her mind long before the opportunity arrived. Freedom just gave her the space to act on it. This is why supervision is a loser's game. If you have to watch her to keep her honest, she isn't honest. She's just restrained. A woman worth your time doesn't need a babysitter or a set of GPS tracks to stay faithful. She stays faithful because she has a self sustaining code of ethics. Her values don't shift based on who is watching or what she can get away with. Her integrity is part of her identity, not a performance for an audience. If her loyalty is just an act, the mask will eventually become too heavy to wear. The cracks will show when she thinks she's safe from judgment, and that is when the truth finally speaks. To truly know who you are dealing with, you have to stop focusing on how she treats you when you're present and start observing the person she becomes when she thinks she's invisible. Does she still speak your name with respect when you aren't there to hear it? Does she shut down the attention of other men with the same energy she uses to tell you she loves you? Or does she thrive on the validation of strangers the moment your back is turned? The difference between a woman of depth and a woman of convenience is found right there in the silence. Real loyalty doesn't need an audience to exist. It stands firm, quiet, and unshakable in the moments of total freedom because a woman of character knows that her own self respect is the only audience that ever truly matters. If she doesn't respect herself enough to be honest in the dark, she will never be able to truly love you in the light. 3. The power shift. The most dangerous delusion a man can hold is believing that a woman's current kindness is a permanent fixture of her personality. For many, kindness isn't a character trait, it is a survival strategy. This brings us to the power shift, the moment most men completely miss because they are too distracted by the comfort of being needed. In the beginning of many relationships, there is a natural imbalance. Maybe she needed you to help her navigate a difficult emotional season. Maybe you provided financial stability when she was struggling. Or perhaps you were the social anchor that gave her a sense of belonging. During this phase, she will be the most attentive, loving, and respectful version of herself. Why? Because you are her lifeline. As long as you are the primary source of her security, she has every incentive to keep you happy. But you have to ask yourself a cold, hard question. Is she treating you well because she loves who you are? Or is she treating you well because she loves what you provide? The true test of her character only begins when that dependence disappears. Eventually, the scales will level out. She will find her own rhythm. She lands the high paying job, she builds a massive social circle of her own, or she finally heals from the past trauma that made her lean on you so heavily. This is the power shift. When she realizes she can finally stand on her own 2 feet without leaning on your shoulder, her need for you evaporates. This is the precise moment when the mask of the sweet, supportive partner often falls away to reveal the person underneath. For a woman whose kindness was tied to benefit, her behavior will shift almost overnight. You'll notice that her patience, once seemingly infinite, begins to wear thin. The respect that used to feel like a given now feels like something you have to beg for. Suddenly, your presence in her life transitions from being a blessing to being optional or even an inconvenience. When a woman no longer gains a specific advantage from being in your life, the way she handles that independence tells you everything you need to know about her soul. If her affection was fueled by gain, she will become cold, dismissive, and entitled the moment she feels self sufficient. She might not leave you immediately, but she will stop investing in the bond because the transaction is no longer profitable for her. She begins to view your needs as a burden and your history as a debt she has already paid off. You will feel a chilling distance in her energy, a sharp edge in her voice, and a general sense that you are being tolerated rather than celebrated. She no longer feels the need to perform the role of the devoted partner because she no longer fears the consequences of losing your support. In her mind, you were a bridge to get where she wanted to go. And now that she's arrived, the bridge is just a relic of the past. This is why you must pay attention to this shift in dynamics. A man who bases his value on being needed is a man who is destined to be discarded. You have to look for the rare woman who treats you with the same warmth and dignity when she is at the top of her game as she did when she was at her lowest point. If her character is real, her respect for you won't fluctuate based on her bank account balance or her social status. If she is anchored in grace, her independence won't make her arrogant. It will make her more appreciative of the man who stood by her when she had nothing. But if she is driven by convenience, her self sufficiency will become a weapon she uses to distance herself from you. Never ignore the change in tone when the power balance shifts. The way she treats you when she has everything and needs nothing from you is the only honest measure of her loyalty. Everything else was just a business meeting masquerading as a romance. 4. Loyalty without incentive. While many people are driven by what they can gain, there is a rare and powerful breed of woman who is anchored in something much deeper than personal interest. She is anchored in grace and unwavering consistency. This is the woman whose character doesn't shift like the wind. She is the same person when she is struggling as she is when she is succeeding. When you find a woman like this, you realize that her respect for you isn't a currency she uses to buy your protection or your resources. It is a fundamental part of who she is. She treats you with the exact same dignity and warmth when she is completely independent as she did back when she leaned on you for everything. Her loyalty isn't a limited time offer that expires the moment she finds her own strength. She doesn't look at her newfound success and decide that you are suddenly beneath her, nor does she rewrite the history of your relationship to make herself the hero and you the obstacle just because she no longer needs your help. You have to understand that the world is full of people who are transactional in their love. They give affection as long as the ROI, their return on investment, is high. But a woman of true character doesn't see a relationship as a business deal. She understands that the bond you built while she was vulnerable is a testament to your shared history, not a debt she wants to forget. Even when she reaches a point where she is financially secure, emotionally stable, and socially powerful, she continues to honor you. She doesn't turn cold or dismissive because you are no longer essential to her survival. Instead, she chooses to stay and remains devoted because she values the man you are, not just the functions you perform. This is the only way to know if what you have is built on a rock or on shifting sand. When the incentive to be nice is removed, when she could walk away or treat you poorly without any immediate negative consequence to her lifestyle, and she still chooses to treat you with kindness, that is when you are seeing her true heart. This level of loyalty is incredibly rare because it requires a person to have a self sustaining moral compass. Most people need an external reward to behave well. They need a carrot to chase or a stick to fear. But a woman anchored in grace doesn't need an incentive to be a good partner. She is loyal because she values her own integrity more than she values a temporary ego boost or a new distraction. She recognizes that the way she treats you is a reflection of her own soul, not just a reaction to what you can do for her today. She doesn't see your support as a role you played that has now ended. She sees it as the foundation of a partnership that she intends to honor for the long haul. She doesn't become inconvenienced by your presence just because she can pay her own bills or navigate her own problems. Her love is a choice she makes every single day, fueled by a deep seated respect for the history you've shared and the man you've proven yourself to be. The cold reality is that anyone can show you affection when there is something in it for them. It is easy to be a ride or die when you are the one providing the car, the gas, and the destination. But the realest version of love is care and loyalty provided without any reward or necessity. When a woman has the power to leave, the resources to be alone, and the social status to find someone else, yet she still looks at you with the same admiration and treats you with the same soft hearted respect as the day you met, that is the ultimate proof of character. That is what's real. It is a loyalty that isn't bought, sold, or traded. It is simply given because she is a woman of her word. In a world of people looking for the next best thing, a woman who honors you when she gains nothing from it is the greatest treasure you will ever find. Her consistency is her superpower, and it is the only thing that can turn a fleeting romance into a lifelong legacy. 5. The final truth. We live in an era of performance where it is easier than ever to fake a high value character for the public eye. You cannot allow yourself to be distracted by the loud, flashy gestures that people use to mask a hollow core. Character isn't found in the expensive birthday gifts, the staged romantic photos posted for likes, or the perfectly timed I love yous whispered when things are going exactly her way. Those are the curated highlights, the commercials of a relationship, and they tell you absolutely nothing about who a woman is when the cameras are off and the crowd has gone home. If you want to find the final truth about the person you are building a life with, you have to stop looking at the stage and start looking into the small, unguarded spaces. Real character lives in the moments that don't get posted on Instagram. It's found in the way she speaks about you when you aren't in the room, the way she handles a disagreement when she has nothing to gain by being nice, and the choices she makes when she thinks she's completely invisible to your judgment. The beauty of the truth is that it doesn't require you to become a private investigator or to engage in endless, draining arguments to expose someone's intentions. You don't need to set elaborate traps or play psychological games to see behind the curtain. In fact, if you find yourself constantly questioning her loyalty, you already have your answer. The truth is much simpler and quieter than that. You only need to be a silent observer of two specific realities: how she manages her freedom when there are no eyes on her, and how she treats you once the leverage of need has been removed from the equation. These are the two definitive moments where the performance ends and the soul is laid bare. When a woman is no longer motivated by the fear of being caught or the desire to get something from you, the script she's been following is tossed aside. What is left in that vacuum is her actual nature. If she is anchored in values, she will remain consistent. If she was anchored in convenience, she will transform before your very eyes. In these unguarded moments, the masks don't just slip, they fall off entirely. You have to realize that most people can maintain a facade for months or even years as long as the incentive is high enough. They can play the role of the supportive, loyal, and loving partner as long as it buys them security, status, or attention. But no one can perform forever. Eventually, the incentives disappear. She becomes successful, she feels secure, or she finds a new source of validation, and suddenly the reason to be good to you vanishes. That is when the truth speaks, and it usually speaks in a whisper, not a shout. It speaks in the sudden coldness of her voice, the lack of empathy for your struggles, or the way she begins to entertain the attention of strangers because she no longer fears losing what you provide. When the performance ends, you aren't seeing a change in her. You are seeing the person who was there the entire time, hidden behind a layer of social politeness and tactical kindness. Understanding this final truth is your ultimate protection. It allows you to move through the dating world with a sense of clarity rather than suspicion. You no longer have to wonder, what if, because you know exactly what to look for. You stop being impressed by the loud declarations of love and start being impressed by the quiet consistency of her actions. When you observe a woman who protects your honor in the dark and treats you with unwavering respect, even when she has the power to walk away, you have found something that cannot be faked. That is a woman whose character is a self contained fortress. But if you see that her loyalty is only a reaction to your presence or your resources, you must have the courage to see it for what it is, a leveraged performance. The truth isn't complicated, it's just often uncomfortable to face. But once you embrace this final truth, you will never again be a victim of a mask because you'll be too busy watching the character that reveals itself in the silence. 6. The takeaway. The ultimate conclusion you must reach is that the only version of a person you can truly trust is the one that remains when all the reasons to be good have vanished.